So the textbook has problem-solving strategies that you could use. It's usually a pretty big list. Um, my strategy that I try to teach students is putting things in like words, writing it out in our own words, and then slowly translating it into the numbers world. Okay. I hope it works for you. I'll show you how to do it with these other problems. At the very least, hopefully this helps you with the assigned homework questions, because there should be at least one type of word problem going on here that you're going to see in your homework. So up here at the top, 2/3 of the children in the 4th grade class are girls. If there are 20 girls, what is the total number of children in the class? And so your first step when you do a word problem is you should look for what they're asking for. They're saying, what is the total number of children in the class? That's what we're supposed to find. So boys and girls. Okay. Right now there are 20 girls that they say. We don't know how many boys. If we could figure that out, then we could add those two together, and we have the total amount of children in the class. So 2/3 of the children in the entire class, and that's how we take 2/3 of a number, right? We multiply the fraction times the number, and we don't know how many students are in the class, so I just wrote it out in words there. So 2/3 of the total class are girls. And we actually know a number for the word girls there. We can replace that with the number 20, because there's 20 girls in the class. And so now this is an equation we got to solve just to get the word class by itself. And we've seen this equation before. When you have a fraction, you can get rid of the fraction by multiplying by the reciprocal, because you can use cross simplification. These cross simplify and these cross simplify. But what you do to one side, you got to do to the other. So the total amount of students in the class is going to be 20 times 3/2. So you can put a 1 under here. You can cross simplify. That makes 10. That makes 1, because they're both divisible by 2. And 10 times 3 makes 30. And it's 30/1. Easier way of saying that is just writing 30. So there are 30 students in this class. And you can always take your answer and see if it makes sense, right? We shouldn't get a number less than 20, because there's 20 girls in the class. There should be more in the total amount of the class, because when you combine boys and girls, it should be more than 20. And 30, that is a number, so that if you take 2/3 of it, if you multiply this by 2/3, so here's the number 30. I'm going to multiply by 2, divide by 3. That's taking care of the fraction. That does give us the number of girls, just like the word problem says it's supposed to. Okay, next one here. Zachary has 25 country music CDs, which is 1/5 of his CD collection. So how many CDs does Zachary have? So there's 25 of one specific genre. We're asked for how many CDs total does Zachary have? Well, if it's a modern Zachary, he probably has 0, because CDs aren't really used anymore. But 1/5 of the CD collection is country. So just like in that last problem, taking the fraction 1/5, and I'm multiplying it to the number of CDs in the collection. I'm going to abbreviate there. If you take 1/5 of the CDs in the collection, it is country CDs. Right? 1/5 of all the CDs in the collection, that makes 25, because there's 25 country CDs. And again, this is an equation. We can solve for the number of CDs by multiplying both sides by the reciprocal. So the reciprocal of 1/5 is 5. That way those are going to cross cancel. And 5 times 25 down there equals 125. So there are 125 total CDs in the collection. There are 16 girls in the school club. The number of girls is 4 more than twice the number of boys. So a lot of those details I don't pay too close of attention to until I read it through a second time. I want to know what the final question is. We're supposed to find the number of boys. That's our goal here. We're supposed to find the number of boys. And we're told something in this sentence here. The number of girls, I'm just going to let G be girls to save myself some writing with this mouse. Number of girls is means equals 4 more than, we've seen how to translate that before in this class. We write 4 plus twice the number of boys. So I'm going to put 2 times B, where B stands for the number of boys. And we actually can plug in some information here. There are 16 girls in the club, so I'm going to put 16 in for G. And that's an equation that we can solve. We've done that before in this class, right? Subtract 4 from both sides. Divide both sides by 2. So B is going to be 6. Okay. There's 6 boys in the class. And that makes sense because the number of girls is 4 more than twice the number of boys. So twice the number of boys gives us 12 boys. And 12 plus 4 gives us 16. So Huang is organizing paperback and hardback books for her club's used book sale. The number of paperbacks is, let's just skip down to the end here. How many hardback books were there? So we're wondering how many hardcover books there are. That's the goal. Now that we have the goal in mind, let's go back and read through. Great, they're doing a book sale. Number of paperbacks. Make that bigger so make that bigger so it's easier to see. Paperbacks, I'm going to translate the sentence reading it left to right. The number of paperbacks, I just put that in abbreviated words. Is means equals. Oops. I want that equal sign up there. It doesn't really matter, but it looks better that way. There we go. Number of paperbacks is 12 less than 3 times the number of hardbacks. So this actually looks like this. Okay? I know when you read it left to right, the number 12 comes first, but we've seen this before in the class. When you need to make something 12 less than something else, the minus 12 comes second, right? If you got $100, and then somebody says, hey, there's 12 less than $100 in your wallet, right? You wouldn't do 12 minus 100. You do 100 minus 12 to find out how much money you currently have. Okay, so 12 less than 3 times the number of hardback books. Here's 3 times the number of hardback books, and there's 12 less than 3 times the number of hardback books. So we got some words here. We're told that there's 162 paperbacks, so that means we get to make a replacement here. Instead of the word paperbacks, we're going to put 162 in its place. And instead of writing the word hardbacks, I'm just going to put H. And that's an equation you can solve for H. Okay, add 12 to both sides, so we get 174. 174 divided by 3 makes 58. And again, you can check that number 58 and see if it makes sense with the word problem. One final one here. Lori has $46,000 invested in stocks and bonds. The amount invested in stocks, that's actually what we usually do. We're supposed to find out how much is invested in bonds. That's the goal. And then if we take this sentence here, the amount invested in stocks means equals 8,000 less than, that's just like this one up above, right? We want to wait before we put that in because it's got to be minus 8,000. 3 times the amount invested in bonds. So 3 times bonds, just use B for bonds. And now here's 8,000 less than 3 times the number of bonds. So we translate this into a sentence. It's okay, use as many words as you want because if it's a word problem in this class, eventually they'll give you numbers to plug in for those words so that you can solve. There's 46,000 in stocks and in bonds. This actually does make it a little trickier. Yeah, so the way we can do this, if you were to add them together, stocks plus bonds, it's $46,000 from that first sentence, right? The amount invested in both stocks and bonds, meaning if you add those two amounts together, it makes $46,000. Or if you want to get the word stocks by itself, you could subtract the word bonds from both sides. So that's something we can plug into this equation up here for stocks. And that should make intuitive sense too, because the amount of money we've invested in stocks, it's the 46,000. subtracted by the amount of money we invested in bonds. And actually, we're using B for bonds, so I put minus B equals 3B minus 8,000. So now we're finally in an equation we can solve. We just got one letter B. It's like our x. We can add B to both sides. Oops, I didn't do it. 3B plus 1B makes 4B. Add 8,000 to both sides. And divide everything by 4. So we got 13,500 for the amount in bonds. Okay, that one's definitely tricky because of that extra step here where we had to think about something to plug in for stocks. But think about what this means. There's 46,000 between stocks and bonds. So if you were to take the $46,000 and subtract the amount of money in bonds, then what's left over is the amount of money in stocks.